Hey, welcome to Fish North Georgia's The Livewell. Here's your host, Ryan Sheffield.
I am here in the flesh. I'm back. I got away from the fly fishing extravaganza last week. So here we are.
That's cold.
That's
cold.
Oh, absolutely. That is cold. That is cold. But that is how I roll. Welcome to the Livewell. You guys, tonight you guys are in for, as always, a absolutely special treat for tonight. We have the legendary North Georgia guide, Mr. Eric Crowley, here to my right.
Great to be here.
He is happy to be here, as he said already. You guys are going to be in for a serious treat. Also to my left, as he begins to come into the screen here, is the other legendary. Give me my spit bottle back.
Jeez, it was on my chair.
Hold your applause.
Get my Mountain Dew sponsor in there. Mr. Rob Robleski is also back with us. He is here back in studio. He got done with his Christmas extravaganzas and grandma visits and COVID experiences.
Yeah, the
COVID and he has came back with us. So, guys, want to have a fantastic show for you tonight. Be ready with your questions. I already went over the down low with Eric. I said you got to spill all the beans. You got to tell anything and everything. He has already said one thing already before we started that absolutely blew my mind. And we will probably touch base on that at some point later, will we? Maybe, he said. Okay, so maybe. But you guys come with your questions, as always, and we certainly appreciate you guys joining us again on this absolutely beautiful February Thursday night here in studio in the Livewell. So we got to take care of some business first, and I got a couple of announcements that we need to make. Now, the first one is, of course, one of our title sponsors, For Her Outdoor Apparel. You guys see me wearing the shirts. You guys see me wearing the hats and the hoodies. We have the stuff in store here. For Her Outdoor Apparel, Jennifer, Peyton, they're absolutely fantastic at what they do. You guys hear the same spiel every single week. I cannot say enough about Jennifer and Peyton and what they do for us and what they do for the entire fishing community here in North Georgia. Give them some support. You can come in store and come pick up some of their fantastic apparel and hats from us, or go online to www.forheroutdoor.com. And I'm gonna tell you something. They're some of the nicest hoodies I've ever wore. I really like their hoodie. It's growing on me. It's been one of the most comfortable hoodies that I've ever had, and I really like it a lot. So you guys go give Jennifer and Peyton all the love and some support. And, of course, as always, we appreciate them as a sponsor for the Livewell. With that being said, we're going to go right into this. And a reminder that Saturday, April 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Mary Alice Park, that is 1820 Mary Alice Park Road, Cumming, Georgia, will be the – let me make sure I say this right. The All Ladies Fishing Clinic. This is for women and children, and it's a fishing clinic, and we will be there. Us with Fish North Georgia, Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, Lanier Baits, Georgia Blade Bait Company, several other sponsors that Jennifer's got lined up. We already have 50 people registered. Now, the reason why I say we got 50 people registered is because all ladies and children who register from the Eventbrite website will get a free rod and reel tackle combo, a tackle box, and a t-shirt. And lunch will also be served by Mr. Danny Pruitt. He will be cooking hamburgers and hot dogs. So you guys come out, get registered. If you haven't already registered, get registered. The second thing that's coming up quicker than that will be the All Ladies Fishing Tournament, which will be March 25th out of Boulding Mill. That is being put on by Miss Jennifer herself and For Her Outdoor Apparel and Captain Josh Thornton. They have teamed up together, and they are putting together a tournament. It is from 7:30 to 12 p.m. and is only a $25 entry fee. You guys go out. You got a lady, you got some kids that want to go fishing. It's a good excuse to fish a tournament. How about that? There's really no other way of saying it. You'll have some fun. It's not a long day. Go out, go catch some fish, have some fun, get the kids out, get the wife out, get the girlfriend out, get the mother out, get the mother-in-law out, whatever. There's all different kinds of options for that. So any woman or child, take them to go fishing in this event. But Josh Thornton and Jennifer, they're throwing this thing on, and we're a little over a month away from that. So you guys go sign up for that. And last but not least, we will hit it again next week. Well, we're going to go ahead and hit it again now. Reminder, the Noe Outdoor Expo, which will be at the Clarence Brown Conference Center again this year, which will be starting next Friday, February 17th, 18th, and 19th. On Friday, the doors open at 3 p.m. They close at 7. And then on Saturday and Sunday, they open at 9 and they close at 5. $5 entry fee to get in the door. So you guys go out there. They're going to have all kinds of different tackle, all different kinds of local companies and stuff, and some not so local companies will be there. And of course, as always, it is sponsored by Miracle Mist. So that is the Clarence Brown Conference Center over in Cartersville, Georgia. $5 entry fee at the door. Go out there. Go stock up on some tackle and some rod and reels and find some great deals here for the new. Well, I mean, for me, fishing season never stops, but for some people, fishing season stops. They don't kind of pick it back up again until like March. I don't know why, but the beautiful thing about Georgia is fishing never has to stop.
It never stops.
It never has to stop in Georgia, and that is one of the great things about living here in North Georgia. The fishing stays good all year long. I believe all 4 of us here will agree on that. When we're not, absolutely, it is good all year long. So. The website, you can go to Noe Outdoor Expo, Tyler. You go to Noe Outdoors on their Facebook page, and he's got all the more information up there. As you can go check it out. And so Will Junkin says, I got my wife and 2 daughters already signed up. Great. We need some more. Like I said, we already got 50 signed up for that event in April 22nd, and then also for the tournament. So you guys come out, y'all go fish the tournament. And come to the fishing clinic on April 22nd. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Mr. Eric Crowley, the number 1 voted by you guys. Top bat. Listen to me.
I'm out of here.
He's gone. All right. We'll see you guys next Thursday.
Stay tuned next week.
I done messed it up. I already messed it up. The top voted by you guys, the top guide in North Georgia, as voted by our audience, the top guide in North Georgia, Mr. Eric Crowley. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you were here, and I'm happy to have you here. And I'm sure many other people are happy. We already got Jeremiah Giles Ahardis is pretty much here. He's close. I like to call this the pre-spawn, Jeremiah, not really the pre-spawn. And I have my reasonings behind why I call it the pre-spawn. But with that being said, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. You started. Let me just flip my page here. So I'm prepared. You guys. I got big list of stuff here. You started, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2004, correct?
2005.
2005?
First guide trip.
Okay, first guide trip. That is Lake and Stream Guide Service, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you primarily only guide on Lake Blue Ridge and Carter's Lake, correct?
Carter's, Blue Ridge, a couple of the rivers.
Which rivers?
Do some stuff on Mountain Town, still for trout.
Okay.
Some stuff on Noontootla with trout.
Okay.
Then we fish the river above.
Okay.
Carter's, Blue Ridge, Notley.
Gotcha. Okay, so you pretty much target really 3 species primarily.
Walleye year round.
Yeah.
Then we do stripers, early spring, stuff
Okay.
like that when the bite's good.
Okay.
Do yellow perch in the fall.
There you go. Hey, that's something you don't hear every day. Yellow perch.
And then we do trout, like I said, on private water stuff.
Cool. All right. So you've been going at it for a while. 2005.
Like
Yeah, it's 2023 now. So 2005 when you had your first trip. So, I mean, what is that? 8? Yeah, what's longer than that? 18 years. That's longer than that. It's 28 years.
No, it's 18. You said 2004, right?
5.
2005. Is my math wrong?
Yeah, it's way off.
Oh my God. I didn't claim to be a math genius. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. It's already been a long day. Okay, it's fine. 18 years. My bad. 18 years. 18 years. So yeah. So that, I mean, that's you know, I see you all the time. You are you're always posting pictures, you know, all over Facebook and stuff like that. You catch some bigs, dude.
I try.
You and your clients, they catch some bigs. You put your clients on some big fish.
We try to target the big ones.
Yeah. So what is your is that like one of your driving factors on why you love to guide so much? Like, why do you love to guide?
Takes the work out of work sometimes, which is nice.
That's a good reason.
Sharing the outdoors. It's always
Yeah.
nice.
Okay. Okay.
I say it all the time, outside making memories.
Okay. So, I also see where we got right here on the questions right here. We got Chris Stubbs. He said, the man that single-handedly got me interested in walleye fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So, yeah, we got some
familiar names over there.
Yeah. what Ron just said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my eyes are crossed from all these jigs that I've been having to tie this week. It's been unreal. So yeah, so you know, you had a very, I would say this, I'm gonna lead into this. You had a very big response when we did the show several weeks ago for the top, you know, who's the best guide voted by our viewers. You know, you had a very large, I mean, you won overwhelmingly. you won pretty large. You won by and large. You were overwhelmingly, and I think that speaks a lot to your service and how hard you work.
It speaks a lot to the client base.
Right,
18 years worth. You know,
yeah,
it's. I've got some good ones.
Okay, so with that being said, how busy are you from week to week?
I do around 200 trips a year.
Wow.
So
that's a lot.
And it fluctuates, you know, like right now it's 3-4 a week, you know, pretty average. Summertime, you know, March I'm booked 30 days in March. April's already booked.
There you go. We had a comment. Someone said, turn your mic up.
Sorry. April's already booked pretty much. You know what I mean? So we're getting into summertime, and then once the tourists show up, they keep me busy. You know,
yeah,
all summer long.
How also, I know you probably got a pretty big local base. What's the farthest like people come book a trip with you to come fish with you?
I've got guys that come down from Wisconsin to walleye fish.
Okay.
Usually March and April.
Yeah.
Because their season up there is closed till May.
Right.
So they come down.
Probably got ice in April still.
Oh yeah. They're definitely most years they're iced up.
Yeah.
So they come down. I've got guys that come from Florida every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the trout stuff's real big. The guys come up here to catch the trout. Guys from up north come down to catch the walleye, you know, in the opposite seasons. That's
kind of interesting. You said guys come up from Florida. You know, Florida, I mean, you know, it's their number one income for statewide economy is basically tourism. Mm-hmm. Tourism being in that part of that is being fishing as a part of that. You know, you would think someplace like Florida, if you lived in Florida, you would have anything and everything that you could possibly want to fish for.
I can't tell you how many kids I take fishing up here.
Really?
Their first time fishing, and they live in Tampa or Orlando or Naples.
That is cool. That is cool. I mean, because when I say Florida, you know, you can bass fish, you can saltwater fish. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's really no. I mean, if it's got water in Florida, there's probably something swimming in it that will bite.
Not trout.
Not trout. Are there any trout in Florida?
No, there's not.
There's not any trout in Florida. That's a tidbit there.
So I know you mentioned a lot of guys from Florida come up here, you know, because it's a lot different. I know when I first moved up here, I hired a trout guide to take me out. It was a great experience. I don't think I would probably fish for that again. But in South Florida, when I used to go down there, I used to target peacock bass. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people like from up north, they're like, man, that's a bucket list fish.
Yeah.
You know, and
for me it is.
Yeah.
I haven't caught one.
So it's pretty cool that you get people from that state to come up and experience, you know, trips on yours.
I get it. And I still hire guides when I go down, you know, I mean, I fish all over the place. So, I mean, it's no different than me going to Michigan to catch salmon. It's just the place to go to catch them. I go to South Florida to catch sailfish because that's where you go to catch them. It's increasing our odds.
I got you. So that being said, we already had a comment right there from Jeremiah Giles there. Scroll back up just a little bit, Paul. There we got him. He said, "Is targeting?" Since we're talking about this being all different places, is targeting walleye in the South different from how they do it up north?
Some of it's the same, some of it's different.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
So we've got a different kind of fishery here. I'll say this: the Blue Ridge Lake fishes more like a northern lake.
Okay.
Shallow. It's got grass. It's got clear water.
Really, it's got grass in it.
It's got perch. It's got walleye. It's got multiple kinds of bait fish. No real big predators after that, and there's some catfish. But it fishes a lot more like a northern lake.
Okay.
You can fish a crawler harness. You can fish a jig and minnow. You can do, everything they do up there, you can do down here. It's going to be different times of the year because, of course, the water temperature is a little different. The timing's a little different because they have to deal with ice out. We've got bluebacks. They don't, you know what I mean? A lot of those lakes up there, they don't deal with the herring in the smaller lakes.
Right.
So
more gobies.
We have a lot faster bait fish. I fish faster than most people, but I fish a lot faster than they do up north.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you, when you say you fish faster,
so
what do you mean?
Whether it's jigging or trolling or, whatever we're doing, I troll substantially fast for what people would consider walleye trolling speeds. Up north, 1.3, 1.5 is typical trolling speed up there, and we're trolling twice that.
Interesting.
Minimum.
Okay. All right. So, that you hit on one thing about talking about that. Do you what fish species, we're talking like particularly in North Georgia, what fish species do you, in your mind, and I'm asking this just because I want your opinion on this, what is the apex predator? Is it the walleye?
Striped bass.
As the striper?
Absolutely.
So you consider that to be the apex predator. Where do you put the walleye in that line, in that pecking order?
As far as predator, like to everything else in the lake?
Yes.
I think it's size relative. It's kind of like a bass. 1 pound bass isn't really a predator.
Right.
But a 7 or 8 pound bass is a formidable fish. It's the same thing with walleye.
Okay.
A 12, 15-inch walleye is eating small bait and bugs and living shallow, hanging out in the grass. He's still susceptible to being eaten.
Okay.
Till they get, 22, 24 inches, something like that. Then they're a pretty formidable predator.
So we got right here with Danny Hogshead. So he says right here, after advice from Eric, first trip to Blue Ridge last fall, 16 spots and one walleye with my handicap friend from Memphis. Awesome.
Remember that.
Okay. So Danny, he remembers that trip. So that's awesome. So, that's pretty cool. I like the, one of the things, and I'm going to brag on guys like you. And there's several others that are just like you. The one thing about the guides that we have here in North Georgia, so many of them are very personable. They're no different than, any of us that are different. And, this is the first time that I've met you, and already, we've been together now for almost an hour, and, I already just feel like I already know you. And, and I would imagine, talking about that with what I'm going to lead in to ask you about this, I'd imagine you make things real personal, make things real comfortable for anybody that gets on your boat.
100%.
So for anyone who's out here, who's watching, who's interested, whether it's in the river or it's in your boat, what is a day with Eric like on a guide trip?
It's an adventure, man.
Is it?
Every day is an adventure.
Okay.
We start off with a pretty good plan.
Yeah.
We've got an agenda. We're going to leave the dock. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
Do this. Sometimes it works out great, and the fish do their job and I do my job, and clients reel in fish and everything goes as planned. And some days it goes sideways.
like a lot of fishing trips.
Everybody does their job with the fish. Then you're starting over, trying to go here, do this, find these fish, change the tactics, make it happen. Stay positive.
Okay.
Make sure everybody has a good time.
Okay, cool. So how many people so river wise, how many people are you comfortable taking?
Jet boat is 2-person max. The big boat on the lake, we can fish 5-6 people if we need to.
Okay, perfect. So for any of you guys who are interested, that's if you're thinking about booking a trip and go catching some big old walleye and striper with Eric, there you go. You can get up a group of guys or your family or
I
something
tell everybody,
like that.
make sure they're a good group of guys because
Yeah.
you're splitting your fish with them.
Yeah,
your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
One person goes to the lake and catches 10 fish. That's an awesome day. 6 people go to the lake and catch 10 fish.
Yeah. That's fun. So,
absolutely.
So for someone though who like maybe they're just wanting to learn some stuff from you on some of the things, describe to me here in North Georgia we'll talk walleye first before we'll talk striper. Describe for me the habitual nature of how a walleye acts on Blue Ridge and Carter's.
They're lazy.
Are they?
Super lazy fish. They're pretty efficient fish as far as hunting goes. Carter's and Blue Ridge are a lot different. So Carter's, those fish are just saturated with bait. Those fish don't go hungry. They're never chasing bait. They don't have to. There's so much bait in the lake that the bait's going to come to them. So those fish get set up. They're pretty stationary. Blue Ridge Lake's a little bit different. It's not quite as many bait fish in the lake. So we target them back and forth a little bit different. But as far as going to Blue Ridge, targeting those fish, seeing those fish, finding those fish on a daily basis, it's it changes week to week.
Well, you are
like bass fishing.
You already kind of took one of the things out of my mouth. I want to go ahead and talk about, and we'll all three of us and Paul included can talk about this, since you already said that bait. Do you? I know my personal belief right now in terms of how it affects all manner of fish species right now in North Georgia. Do you believe there's a bait problem in Georgia, in these North Georgia lakes?
There's been a bait problem at Carter's for 15 years.
Right.
That was the only lake that I know of that really had a bait problem.
Yeah.
Just because there's herring in a lake doesn't mean it's a bait problem.
Okay.
There's shad kills. That doesn't mean there's a bait problem.
Right.
When you go to Carter's Lake and you see schools of bait that are 100 yards wide and 50 feet thick for a half a mile, that's a problem.
Yes. Why do they need to? It's like I always say, why do they need to try to eat your bait that you're trying to present to them when all they got to do basically is open their mouth and swim through, like you said, a ball of school of bait that is 100 yards wide, 50 feet thick, a half a mile long.
So
it's like a Chinese buffet.
Striper fishing specifically, say the last 15 years on Carter's.
Right. We
used to go just like they do on Lanier now and to watch the birds, watch the bait. They'd come up to the surface. The fish would start busting. We'd throw lures on them and catch them, and woohoo, it was fun, know? And then the all-wives got in the lake. The fish just quit coming to the surface. The herring don't come up like that anymore. They stay down deep year-round. So in the summertime, you can catch a striper in 70 feet. And we caught one last week in 70 feet of water. They stay deep now. They don't really come up like they used to when it was just gizzards or thread fins, stuff like that. So that's a problem. The biggest problem is just getting your bait noticed.
Yeah.
You got schools of bait like that. The old adage, find the bait, find the fish, is
non-existent.
No true. Yeah. You're almost like, let's find some fish that aren't near the bait. See if we can get them to eat, because they don't have to eat your bait.
Right.
So we've seen it change a lot, and it's changed, more than one time.
We've had several guys, you may know them, Jeremy Mullinax and them from Backwoods Fishing, they've been on the show several times, him and Mickey. All they ever talk about is the alewife problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. The alewives, and I'm going to go ahead and ask this question because it may come up here, and we're fixing to get ready to hit some of you guys' questions here in just a second, but I want to say this because it'll get some of you guys' wheels turning here on this. The brood stock of walleye in North Georgia, where does it come from?
They get them from everywhere. So this past year, I know for a fact they got some from Carter's. They got some from Lanier. They made a trip up to Blue Ridge and got a couple of fish from up there, some specific walleye from up there.
Okay.
And
why? Do you know why?
They're a little different.
Okay.
There's two. I'm not gonna say there is. We believe there's two strains.
Okay.
In the lake. I've got some pictures I can show you. They're definitively, they're definitely two different looking walleye.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So,
how so?
Different colors, different shape, different eyes. teeth configuration's different.
Wow. Okay. So learn something.
But that's
yeah.
Blue Ridge has got. Well, I said factory. Blue Ridge has got Tennessee river fish, natural fish.
Yeah.
They've got that strain of fish that was in there when they made the lake.
Yeah.
It was all connected at one point. Carter's has got mostly the fish from Lanier. When they started doing the program down there, they brought those fish to Carter's. Now there's enough in there where they're getting those fish back out of Carter.
Yeah. You said something to me before, and right here after I ask this question, we're going to go through some of these questions here and answer as many questions as we can for a minute. You said something to me earlier. We were talking about Lanier specifically. You said there are a lot more walleye in Lanier than people realize.
I believe so.
Yeah. And but you say that because you said you don't fish Lanier hardly at all. You said something about, what'd you say, 2 or 3? You've only fished like 2 or 3 times? Yeah. You stay up there, up towards Carter's and Blue Ridge and the rivers and stuff like that. We get some comments and stuff about everything that says, there's not that many walleye in Lanier. There's not that many walleye in some of these other lakes around here. One of the lakes that I know a lot of people go up to specifically catch walleye is Fontana. They go up there, North Carolina. They go catch a lot of walleye up there. I know a couple guys that have pontoon boat. They go up there and they drag bait and stuff like that for walleye and stuff. Well, that is Fontana, out of all the lakes up here, you hear Fontana. Out of all the lakes up here, which one do you think is the best for fishing for walleye? Did it go specifically target walleye?
Take the fifth.
The best lake I would say is probably Blue Ridge, and I'm not going to say it just because it's got the best fish.
Yeah,
but it's probably the easiest to fish.
Okay,
as far as patterning fish, finding fish, catching fish in sensible depths of water.
Okay, what's a sensible depth?
Less than 50 feet.
Okay, all right. So,
but at the same time, I will say Carter's has got more fish, bigger fish, better quality fish.
Okay,
but it's probably the single hardest lake to catch a walleye in.
Okay, all right. So,
day to day for somebody that wants to go try to catch one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's scroll up here, Paul. Let's see. You got any juicy questions? I was jumping over juice. Any good questions that you see to pick out right here? Wes Bailey says, how do you consistently stay on top of bait in North Georgia? Is it a matter of electronics or knowing the patterns of bait fish by the time of the year?
Learn the bait fish. They're just another fish.
What do you think walleye prefer? Or what do you know what walleye prefer?
To eat?
Yes.
Whatever they can grab.
Really?
I don't think they have a preference over shad or herring. I'm going to say those are the main two.
Yeah.
Forage based.
Would you categorize a walleye as a true opportunistic feeder?
What do you mean?
Wow, they'll eat anything they can eat.
Yeah. I think most fish are.
Yeah. But walleye specifically. Because, I think a lot of guys get this thing that, I think there's a little bit of a slight preconceived notion of walleye. And Rob, jump in here anytime you want to, dude, and ask questions. That's all good. As a preconceived notion that walleye basically just swim around and stay on the bottom, and they've, I guess the notion of maybe watching some of the in fishermen shows when they're up there somewhere in Michigan area, Wisconsin area, where they're Lake Minnetonka, where they're dragging these these deep diving jerk baits and exactly, and stuff like that. Where they just hang out on the bottom all the time, and you got to like jig for them or spoon for them or whatever
at certain times of the year.
Yeah,
but just like a bass, in August, that's where your bass are going to be. They're going to be deep. You're going to spoon for them, you're going to jig for them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. In
the spring, we catch them in shallow water. Mid-spring, we catch them at night, 2-3 feet of water on the main lake. In the summertime, we catch them on Carter's anywhere from 50 to 90 feet deep.
Yeah. So we've got. Do you know? I'm gonna ask you this because we had this question. It says, Tyler Minnick says that there's shad everywhere on West Point. Are there walleye on West Point, or is it too hot?
Yeah, I don't think that's part of the stocking program down
there. Okay, I didn't know because I'll be honest with you guys. I told Eric already. I've caught 2 walleye in my life. They were both by accident. One was on a worm, and one was on a black spinnerbait. And a couple of my old time buddies that I bass fish against and stuff, they call them toothy critters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
you were snapping lip one time. You'll call them that too.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't want to stick your. If any of you guys have ever caught a walleye or seen a walleye, it's like that's like sticking your hand in the shark's mouth.
Sea trout.
I mean, a sea trout. I mean, it's like you're just asking to come out with skin gone and blood. So if we got any good questions? Says, so are those Tennessee string walleye the ones that are cigar shaped? I've noticed some different body shapes with the ones that come out of there versus Carters.
Yeah, if I had a way to show you some pictures side by side, I would. But so the walleye we have in Carters are mainly that green gold color, white bellies. They have the ones that are thick because there's so much bait. Again, they're not missing many calories. So they get a little different shape to them. They kind of got like a hump up behind their head where just meat is just growing in their necks. The fish on Blue Ridge, the Tennessee strain of fish, they're a little more slender. They got giant eyes and lots of teeth.
Yeah, so see, Philip Hutchison there, he said, my buddy Dave Johnson showed me a pic of a walleye he caught at the dam below Lanier. And so they're walleye in the Chattahoochee River.
Walleye on any of the lakes that have walleye, there's walleye in the tailwaters below them.
Okay. How do they get there?
Go through the dam.
Go through the dam. Okay. What is like and this may be a kind of a, all right, answer this like your personal question, your personal opinion. What is the like average size good walleye up here in North Georgia?
Our average fish last year, we were over 500 fish last year.
Okay.
Our average fish was
that's a lot.
22 inches.
Yeah. How roughly was that? 4 pounds?
Oh, about 4.5 pounds.
Okay.
Now I'll say this: a 22-inch fish out of Blue Ridge is 4 pounds. We've had 22-inch fish out of Carter's over 5.
Really? And that's just simply because of the bait, the alewives. So I'm going to ask this question, but I can probably pretty much assume
I say it could be older fish, the same length.
Yeah.
Could be, just the change in diet.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to assume I'm going to know the answer on this. Preferred lake to fish for walleye, Carter's or Blue Ridge?
For me personally, like on my day off,
yeah,
I'm going to Carter's.
You're going. Oh, really? Okay. Why?
So I can break Wes's walleye record.
What is the record?
Like 15.
Really?
14 and some change.
Really?
Now, I know it's still this off subject, but do most of your trips is it catch and release, or you guys
on the walleye?
Them? Yeah.
No.
They keep them.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because I didn't know. Okay.
No.
So
I let a lot of them go when I'm fun fishing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty good stockpile.
So it's crazy that because you mentioned about you get about 500 a year, right? And they just regenerate like nothing.
Well, they stock them.
Okay.
So we're getting 50 to 70, 80,000 fish a year.
Now, when they stock them, do they have a specific size when they stock them? Are they small?
They're pretty small. They're fingerlings.
Okay. Interesting.
I know they stocked.
I didn't know. So
I know they stocked what 200,000 in Lanier last year.
I'm not sure what the numbers on Lanier. I've got the numbers on Carter's.
How many did they do in Carter's?
I've got it right here. As a matter of fact, it's one of those important questions I prepped for.
Oh, okay. So
here's a question coming from one guy to another. I know when I used to guide,
I'm gonna hit those.
Expectations was like just probably one of the hardest things. I know that like weather permits things from happening, having good days and stuff like that. Like, do you believe like expectations is one of the hardest things to accomplish as a guide trip if you're not bringing the numbers? Like, people expect to have all these great days because you see all these pictures posted up, but there's going to be your days where it's not going to be the best day. I mean,
there's always off days.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, where you fish, what you fish for. There's always going to be off days. That's kind of one of my things when with getting away from striper fishing full time was I'd been taking clients for 10 years. A lot of these clients had caught 23, 25, 27 pound fish. They've gone out, they had 10 fish, 15 fish days on Carter's where you're catching big fish, and it's hard to maintain that, especially when you have a dip in the fishery like we've got right now with the stripers. Yeah. It's just hard to maintain that. With the walleye, stripers, people want to catch big ones. They see people holding up these pictures and that's what they want to catch. And it's not always the case. Not everybody needs to catch a 20-pound fish or can catch a 20-pound fish. With the walleye, I find it's a little different. People are like, never caught one. I want to catch one. You know what I mean? That's or I used to go catch them when I was a kid, or we used to go catch them up north. And there's a little different correlation. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a 20-pound fish. You don't have to go catch 50 of them. And people still have a great time. You know?
Yeah. And that's awesome that you know what that's.
What you got?
Almost 12 million, 11,683,000 fry have been stocked into Carter's Lake.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's
so
a
what
lot.
do you think out of percentage of them
10%.
survive? 10%.
That
seems to be
That's
for
pretty-
all of
that's
them.
pretty
I
good.
think most
That's pretty
fish-
good.
1 in 10. That's
I mean, I've talked to DNR a lot. I work with John Damer and the guys over there that work at Carter's, and 10% survive, and I'd say probably 10% of those make it, to adult size.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's real good, and they get great numbers. They're stocking. I mean, they're shocking numbers in their gillnet surveys and stuff like that. They have great numbers.
Yeah. So we got 2 questions that we want to hit right here before we move on. Right here, go back up just a little bit. We got a question from Jeremiah right here. It says, question: walleye or heavy night feeders? How much fishing do you do for them after dark?
If it was up to me, I would fish for them at dark almost all the time.
Really?
But from a guide standpoint, and from being married, that doesn't work out.
Right.
No, it doesn't. You got to go home.
Yeah, I mean, I fish at night pretty much exclusively March and April, and by the end of April, I am tired, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get back on a normal schedule and see my family and wake up, go fishing, come home like I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I would night fish them year round.
Yeah.
It's just they are a nocturnal feeder 99% of the time.
Philip Hutchinson says, do you ever catch, and I'll let you pronounce those 2 names.
Sauger or Saw Guy?
Yeah.
Not here. There's more of those in Tennessee, more Tennessee River stuff. And those didn't really show up until after Blue Ridge Dam was built.
Okay.
So they weren't.
Is that like
natural.
a cousin of the walleye?
Sauger is part Saw Guy. Is part Sauger, part walleye.
Okay.
Kind of like a hybrid.
I don't even know what a sauger is.
It's a smaller walleye with a little different color pattern.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, interesting. So, talking about fishing, piggybacking off what Rob said, what describe the best day weather-wise to go fishing for walleye?
The worst day weather-wise.
Okay, I was assuming that was going to be what it was.
They hate sunlight. They hate high pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, if it's cloudy, overcast, raining, windy,
Mm-hmm.
cold,
Yeah.
cold,
striper weather.
yeah, any big fish, any predator weather.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I didn't know if it might have changed or differentiated a little bit. That's always the best time to go fishing, period. The day when you wake up and you say, I think I'm going to stay in bed.
Yeah,
That's the day you need to go fishing.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Definitely the day you need to go fishing.
like today.
Yeah, exactly. So Jeremiah's got another question real quick, and then we're going to move on to some more questions. My other question on walleye, live bait or artificial, what's your preference?
Artificial.
Okay. I know people use both and fish stuff like crawler harnesses. You mentioned crawler harnesses earlier. What is a crawler harness?
It's like a spinner bait, like a deconstructed spinner bait. It's got a spinner in the front, 2 hooks in the back for a night crawler.
Okay.
I don't fish them.
I
lot.
got this actually.
Yeah.
Ryan, there was a bait many moons ago. I think it was the man's swimming worm. It had a little spinning blade in front.
Like a crim worm.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh.
And then like a 2-hook setup, and you had a kink in the worm, and
okay.
it came through the water. Think along those lines, except with like a spinner blade.
or some beads.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I got that pictured in my mind now. So,
As far as Jeremiah's question, I fish artificials more because I can fish them faster.
okay.
Live bait to me now, when I was striper fishing all the time, live bait was great. Stop the boat, find the fish, drop the fish, wait on the bite.
Yeah.
The older I get, the less I can do that. I want to go find the fish. I want to catch the fish. I want to reaction strikes. Most of the fish I catch are reaction strike fish.
Your top artificial bait.
Well,
answer in 2 questions.
In the boat, there's several from Rapala. Husky jerks,
Okay.
tail dancers, shad wraps.
And you trolling those?
I troll them, cast them.
Okay, cool. All right. You mentioned earlier, you're talking about how they live from anywhere from basically a couple feet of water all the way out to what, 55,
90 feet.
90 feet. What's your preferred depth range to catch them out of?
I would say more than half the fish we catch every year are between 55 and 65 feet of water on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Now that they might be suspended, they might be on the bottom, they might be, you know what I mean? They might
is
be
that
on the
because of the
point.
bait? Like the alewives and the herring?
I
and
think,
stuff like that?
yeah, they're just following their food source. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, they're not going to leave it. So
Okay. Now I'm surprised that this question has not come up yet.
This is an interesting one from
Go ahead.
Phil because I know you fly fish a little bit. Have you tried it? Is it feasible?
it's a work in progress.
So you're attempting it.
We've had a few hooked up. Last spring, I had a few hooked up and lost them. I'm still working on it.
But you don't want to say
It's on
like
the list.
what you're doing.
Fishing streamers at
Okay.
night
Okay.
with waders on.
Okay.
Walleye.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it's a work in progress.
That's interesting. Yeah. We're if some of these questions that are coming along down the line here, we're going to end up getting into what we talked about. So
That's
that's
all
going
right.
to be
It's-
totally up to you if
that's
you want to
okay.
answer that question.
That's
I think this
Um,
this question from Jeremiah is interesting to me, mostly because you said you're not a crappie fisherman,
What's it say?
and
Pull it up.
You got your.
crappie are also like very color sensitive.
He knows I'm not a crappie fisherman too.
Like I've got some walleye plugs. Like they come in a
so
lot of colors. Is it that big of a deal?
They come in a lot of colors, but remember up north, where a lot of these lures are targeted. That they're doing a lot of different things up there. Those fish are eating bluegill, they're eating brim, they're eating gobies, they're eating herring, they're eating. They've got all kinds of stuff to eat up there. So there's a few more variances up there with different minnows and smelt shiners. They've got all kinds of bait fish up there. Our bait fish here are typically olive color with chrome bodies.
Mhm.
So most of what I fish here is some offshoot of that. That light and dark contrast, whether it's chrome and black or chrome and purple or chrome and green, white and green, a lot of that. But I don't even fish too much of those funky like pink with the blue poke. What do they call Wonder Bread?
No pink lemonade, no Wonder Bread,
They got names for all that stuff up there.
no
but-
HPP.
No, and a lot of what I fish here is the same stuff you guys are fishing for bass. It's just applied a little bit different. It's like I was saying earlier, when you see those fish and you're like, that's a walleye, then you got to fish it like a walleye. You can't fish it like a bass. They don't react the same.
Right.
Somebody, it might have been Jeremiah the other day. It was Chris Stubbs that was on here just a little while ago. He said, I got this bait. I was catching bass on it. Blah, blah, blah. We told him what to do. We made a couple modifications. Bam, next day, got his first walleye. It's just targeting the walleye.
Yeah.
Quit bass fishing.
So it's a mindset thing.
Yeah, I mean, if it's kind of like if you go striper fishing, you're going to catch spots. If you're live bait striper fishing, you're going to catch spots. It's part of it. But how often do you catch stripers spot fishing? You know what I mean? It's just a little bit different. Everything's a little bit different there. When you're throwing those artificials, occasionally you'll catch one.
Yeah, and that's true because I think it was the beginning of this year. I was out at Notley, and typically that's the lake I fish all the time, and trying to catch spotted bass, and one darn striper hit it. I mean, it was big. It definitely took that whole eight.
And same thing when I was striper fishing all the time. I was a live bait guy. Tanks and cast nets, and I mean every day it was live bait, and I wasn't catching a lot of stripers or hybrids on artificials at the time. But since I've switched over and started mainly fishing artificials for walleye, I've caught more stripers on artificials in the last couple of years than I ever have.
So when I went up north this past summer, I got to fish Lake Huron, and Lake Huron is known for the walleye, especially in that Saginaw area. I was catching a lot of walleye on drop shot, in like 30, 35, 40 of water, thinking they were smallmouth, but no, they're walleye.
Yeah.
All on drop shot, little flatheads.
Yeah.
Yeah, they eat up, man.
They'll eat anything, man.
Anything, yeah.
You just gotta. And drop shot's a great rig for a walleye.
Yeah.
It's a vertical presentation. You can see the fish on the sonar. You can drop the bait. I say it all the time. Hit them in the face.
They're gonna eat it.
Hit them in the face with it. They might not eat it, But if you give them the opportunity, and you aggravate them enough, a lot of times they'll grab that bait. If not, move over, boat with, do it again.
Yeah. Chris Stubbs there, he just says that the bass done took a back seat for me for the time being. For me, I'm invested with the walleye. So you made an impression on him. You've definitely made an impression on him.
Must have been a good sandwich.
We got to hit on this because we were talking about the bait. We touched on this before the show started. The effect of blueback herring on the walleye spawn.
I don't think it has any effect on the spawn. I think the walleye fishery here is never set up to be a reintroduced so they can naturally repopulate.
Okay.
The fish here are stocked just like the trout. Put them in the lakes. People catch them. They keep putting them in the lakes. We're getting thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of walleye every year.
Okay.
So they're not really dependent on the spawn. The theory says that the alewives make the fish sterile. They can't reproduce, but we've had a natural reproducing population of walleye in Blue Ridge now for years, and there's been bluebacks in there for years.
Right.
They just started stocking Blue Ridge again recently.
Right.
So I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the herring, I'm not a biologist. I think they eat more bait. They eat more of the walleye fry, the walleye eggs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty big problem.
Yeah. That's the same reason why the largemouth population in North Georgia was not what took it downhill for a while there, and now it seems to be it's rebounding pretty well
in a lot of the lakes. Now you've got lakes like Carter's and Blue Ridge where you're never going to get that largemouth population.
Right.
One, the water fluctuations are crazy.
Yes.
Carter's, those fish just can't successfully spawn like they were meant to.
Yeah.
They make a bed and the next day their bed's 40 feet deep. The next day it's 40 feet from the water. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a hard thing for those fish.
Right.
But I think the herring eat a lot of eggs. I think they eat pretty good majority of the eggs. If not, they eat a lot of the fry. There's already herring up the river on both lakes waiting. There's the white bass are starting to spawn, that kind of stuff. The perch are up there starting to spawn, but they're up there just annihilating anything that comes out.
Let's dispel this right now. Neither one of these two have heard this. Me and you, that was one of the first things me and you talked about when you got here. I'm not going to name his name, but a very popular fishing and hunting individual basically said that, and a lot of people seem to have taken it as law, the best time to go walleye fishing is on the first full moon of February. Is that true or not?
Not for me.
Not for you. Why?
Not for me. It's too early for me. If the walleye fishing was good right now, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I'd be at the lake.
You'd be at the lake.
I'd be at the lake. I'd be booked up fishing.
Right.
It's just a little early. The fish transition a lot in February.
Yeah.
So maybe on some lakes, it's a good, if the lake is small and the river system's small, this fish might move up in there if the conditions are right. And you've always got some fish that are going to spawn a little early.
Yeah.
In all the spawns, and you've got some fish that are going to spawn late.
Yeah.
So, but I would say that's a little early. And what happened? If you get a full moon in February on the 25th versus the 5th,
yeah,
that's a 3-week difference there. It's a pretty big difference.
It is a big difference.
Yeah.
You mentioned something though when we talked about that about the bait. I've noticed that in terms of the bass, because I'm a bass guy, and I don't. The two walleye that I've caught were by accident. I was bass fishing. Probably like some of these other guys that are watching too. Some of them have probably caught walleye by accident as well.
That's how I caught all mine when I started off.
By accident?
It was all on accident. We were striper fishing.
Really? Well, we're gonna dig into
it. Just got to enough where you started catching enough of them where you're like, we're gonna
do
something about this.
We're gonna dig into that. One of the things talking about that though, one of the things that I've noticed over the past several years, we talk about the bait problem. We talk about the amount of bait in a lot of these North Georgia lakes right now. I have noticed that there's a wave, usually when you talk spawn for many of the different species, you're talking end of March through April, 1st of May type deal.
4 to 6 weeks, yeah.
But It seems like there is a population of fish now that have been through the battles and been through the spawns. And the spawn that I'm specifically talking about is the herring spawn. The herring spawn, out of all of the spawns, it rules the day.
Absolutely.
It trumps the shad spawn. It trumps every other spawn. There's even to a point now, take Lanier specifically, the bass are almost, not all of them, but the majority of them almost ignore the shad spawn because they're so intent on, they know that the herring spawn, when it happens and when it's coming. And I have caught spotted bass that have eggs coming out of them, and they're up there feeding on a herring spawn. Do you think that maybe that because of the herring specifically? Because I think we agree that out of all the spawns, the herring bait spawns, the herring spawn is the dominant one that gets more reaction to all the predators. In my opinion, I think that has an impact on some fish that spawn earlier than they normally would, and some fish spawn way later than they normally would. Do you think that that's the case?
I think the older fish will adapt to stuff like that. We see that on Blue Ridge a lot, where when we're trying to target the smallmouth that are up there, we used to say, Mother's Day was that week. It was always the prime time to go up there and catch smallmouth, because that's used to be when the herring would spawn pretty much like clockwork.
Yeah,
right on Mother's
not
Day.
anymore.
Last year on both lakes, we had bait spawning from the end of March until 4th of July almost last year.
Right.
So there was, and when the bait spawns on Carters, it's like National Geographic. I mean, you don't even have to throw the cast net. You're just scooping them out of the water, putting them in the boat. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
But I can say this, when the bait spawn is extended like that, I don't think the fishing is quite as intense.
Yeah.
When it first starts, they get real fired up, and then I think they just gorge themselves.
Yeah.
And it goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier. They don't eat all the time. They eat once or twice a day, they get full and then they go back down and rest.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that the fish adapt, just like anything. If the food's here now, we're going to go now. If the food's not here yet, they'll just sit there and wait. They know it's coming. Yeah.
I have a little saying that I always say on the shows, and other people that come into the shop: Mother Nature will always find a way.
Always.
They always will somehow find a way to adapt. So the herring cometh. Yeah, exactly. That's not really February full moon. Good chance every 10 years or so. If it's fishing, it changes. So Danny said that, and it's talking about, Eric thinks that, he, in his experience, the end of February is a little bit better. We got some good banter going on in the comment section. One thing that I wanted to ask you about this right now is, any advice straight up right now for anyone to find walleye and have some success to find the walleye on Blue Ridge or Carters?
Right now,
if you're going out right now and you're going to go say, I want to go catch some walleye, what's your biggest piece of advice? Without, you don't have to give away your big secrets or anything by any means, but if you're going to give somebody some advice, somebody that's watching, what would be your advice?
I'd go up the river at Blue Ridge and throw bandits, shad wraps.
Okay.
Flicker shads, stuff like that.
Okay.
Just shallow water river fishing right now.
Cover water.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely cover water. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that's more of my kind
but
of.
It's pretty much anything right now. I mean, if you go up a river right now and throw a shad wrap, you're gonna catch a perch, white bass, yellow bass are up there. The stripers and the hybrids will be going up there soon. The walleye are up there. You're gonna get smallmouth, that push up in the river.
Are yellows are in Blue Ridge?
Yellow perch?
Bass.
No, yellow bass we get in Carters.
Okay. I know there's yellow bass on all the Tennessee River lakes, like Chickamauga, for example. They have yellow bass.
I've never caught any.
Never seen a yellow bass.
Well, it looks like a striper, but it looks like a striper that's been soaked in the mud. They're like this big and they're yellow. Yeah.
Like a white bass with a fancy stomach.
Yeah, exactly. but I guess they probably don't get much bigger than that.
Yeah,
do they? I mean,
you catch one that's pound and a half.
Yeah,
big one.
Yeah, I know Chickamauga. I know Chickamauga's covered with them.
We used to catch hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. It was one of my, kids trips in the spring, and just go up there and throw little, crappie jigs basically on ultralights in the current. We used to catch them, hundreds of them.
Wow.
In the last few years, same thing though. They spawn, the herring are already sitting there, just waiting to eat.
They said, or book a trip with Eric. That's easier. So let's
easier.
So let's kind of switch gears here a little bit now. And as we switch gears, I want to hit up another real good sponsor of ours, Buford Dam Bait and Tackle.
The striper with a bad liver. It's got jaundice.
Hey, you got to watch
That's
Tyler.
about right.
Tyler's a good Tyler. He's always coming up with he's a let me piss Tyler off. He's an engineer.
A hell of an engineer.
he's an engineer. Let's before we get into this next thing, as we switch gears from we're going to get out of walleye, we're going to start talking about some striper. Sound good to you?
Absolutely.
As we switch gears here, we want to talk about another one of our sponsors, Buford Dam Bait and Tackle. Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, Dave and Alan and the guys down there at 2595 Buford Dam Road, Cumming, Georgia, which is where your buddy sent the first Bruiser Baits package.
Awesome.
To by accident.
Oh,
he was supposed to send it to me, and he sent it. We'll talk about that story later. Okay. That's funny. Buford Dam Bait and Tackle, 2595 Buford Dam Road, Cumming, Georgia, 30041. Reach out to Dave, Allen, and the guys. They got all kinds of fantastic products there for bass fishing, striper fishing, crappie fishing. They got trout TNT products, and as always, they always have live bait. They got shad, they got herring. They got crappie minnows. The weather is coming. It is moving. We're starting to get out of this. Winter's getting old.
Winter's been old.
It's
going to be back this weekend for a little bit.
Yeah,
it's supposed to snow this weekend.
I'm into hell. I'm in the hell with winter mode now.
There goes all the milk and eggs.
Yeah, there goes all the milk and eggs. Yeah, exactly. Dave and Alan and the guys, though, they've got everything that you would possibly need. And as the weather is starting to warm, start thinking about some fishing a little bit more. If you don't come see us, go see Dave and Alan and the guys at Buford Dam, and we appreciate their support as always. So, leading into this, striper fishing. Okay. You mentioned beforehand that striper fishing, you caught walleye basically by accident when you were striper fishing. Mm-hmm. So striper fishing was one of the first things, I guess, when you come up here guide wise.
When I moved up here, I started trout fishing when I moved up here because that's what everybody told me I needed to do.
Really? Okay.
So I went to the river, I caught some fish. I just wasn't thoroughly impressed.
Just didn't turn you on.
Well, I mean, they were just stocker rainbows, and that's what I was catching at the time.
Right.
And actually, the first stripers I ever seen, I had a friend of mine in LJ was pulled up to a place I was working at one day and was like, "Get in the truck, we got to go. The bite's on." I jumped in the truck and we went to Carter's Lake, and the bite was on. And we caught some 20, 25 pound fish, and I was done trout fishing for a couple of years. That was exactly what I had been missing when I moved up here, was those fish, big fish.
Yeah.
So, but the walleye was just, they started to populate the lake about the same time that I started striper fishing. So we started seeing an increase in the walleye numbers from say 2000 to 2005, 2006. And then when I was on the water every couple of days guiding for stripers, we'd get one a week. And then it turned into 2 a week.
Yeah.
And then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't chasing them. We were staying on top of those big schools of fish. And then they'd show back up. We'd catch a couple more. But the ones we were catching were big.
Yeah.
We were using, big baits for stripers catching them.
Yeah. Between the two, Blue Ridge and Carter's. Or if you want to, throw out a river. If you're going to go catch a striper right now, where are you going?
Carter's, because there's none in Blue Ridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, makes it an easy decision.
Really? I didn't know that. Not on the rivers, though? You don't want to go to any other rivers? You don't want to go
out
to the Coosa River or
anything? No, I mean, I go to I don't know any of those waters. I don't even go down there. If I'm going to striper fish, it's going to be at Carter's. If not, I'm going to go up to Notley. And we'll go up and we striper fish Notley, June, July, stuff like that. Good medium, smaller fish than Carter's on average, but, more numbers.
What are you going to say?
Yeah. when I went crappie fishing the other day, and took my buddy.
You called them crappie.
No, we could.
No, you just
He
said
did. I heard
crappie.
you
did
say
call
it.
him a
We went
crappie.
I thought you were going to say speck fishing.
Dude, I was watching the live scope, and he had his jig so off the brush pile and just random, and I thought it was a giant spot. Just came up and smashed his little crappie jig, and then was fighting him for a while. Damn thing was like a 12-pound striper.
Yeah, that's
You almost
I'm
said
like-
speck.
No, that's a striper.
You almost said
12
speck.
pounder.
it's one of the reasons
Out of a
I
crappie jig.
I never tried to follow catching them on Carters, is because every time I would go out there with the minnows and my floats and you'd throw some minnows in a brush pile, you were either catching spots or you'd hook into big giant hybrids or big stripers, and done crappie. No, we're good.
Yeah.
These days.
See, I learned something now. I thought Blue Ridge had striper in it.
It's one of the few lakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, I
I
learned
same
something.
thing. I thought-
So Blue Ridge had a natural population of smallmouth,
Mhm.
had a natural population of walleye, and then the spotted bass got put in there.
Mhm.
The trout fishery upstream from the lake is pretty important,
Mhm.
so they don't want those fish making that run up the river.
Why did the smallmouth fishery in Blue Ridge start them? It was because of the spots got introduced.
Spots in the bluebacks.
Yeah.
It's
They're
just-
coming back.
takes it. Yeah, we had a guy talking about come in here last week, and he was talking about them. They've been stocking Blue Ridge with smallmouth and
Yeah.
stuff,
That's where-
and they put them in the marina though. But the ones that came in, they put this one particular instance, they had put some in the marina
Gotcha.
down there, and the ones that went and hid underneath the marina, now they were putting them, the little fingerling size, just over the fry size, smallmouth. The ones that bolted and went underneath the marina slips and stuff and hid, seemed like they probably survived. But the ones that stayed out in the middle, they said that the spots were just coming through and just
Oh yeah.
whoosh, whoosh, just eating them and picking. And every time they were sitting there watching them, and every time they would come through, there'd be one more gone, one more gone, one more gone every time. Do you think that, like, what's it going to take on Blue Ridge to reproduce let's pump the brakes on quality, let's just say semi-quality smallmouth fishery, where you can go to Blue Ridge and say, I'm going to go catch me some smallmouth today. Like you would on any other lakes, where you can say, I'm going to go catch me a spotted bass.
So
some
that
spotted
used to
bass
be a
today.
thing. Like we used to do smallmouth trips on Blue Ridge.
Okay.
There was an established fishery there.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fell off.
Mhm.
They started stocking again. They're stocking not like they do most places. They're not just pulling up and dumping them.
Mhm.
They're putting these fish in a boat and running them upriver and letting them go. They're
Oh,
taking them
okay.
to the backs of the creeks and letting them go. They're letting them go on top of the brim beds,
Mhm.
basically, in the springtime. They're letting them go a little farther out of, not off the dock at the marina. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Right.
And that's helping.
Yeah.
So they started stocking again like 2015, 16 every year. And when they stock these fish, they freeze brand them. And they put a mark on the fish, either left side or right side, that tells you if it's 2015, 2016.
Interesting.
And if it's a vertical or
I
a
didn't know
horizontal
that.
brand, that'll tell you if it was 2017 or 2018. You know what I mean? Which side
That's
and
pretty
which
cool.
direction. So we caught 5 smallmouth this year on Blue Ridge. One from 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we've caught one from each year that they've stocked. So, and they were all, 11, 12 inch fish, 13-inch fish.
Yeah.
So it's working. I mean, they're coming back. It's 5 more than I caught last year.
That's good.
When you
'cause-
fish the lake over 100 days a year and
Yeah.
you don't catch a smallmouth, it's real discouraging. It was like that the year before too.
was it?
But this past year we saw them. I've seen them up on the surface, or I've seen 2 or 3 of them cruising together up in the river, stuff like that.
So you seen them come up and you see them do their spawn thing?
The smallmouth?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I just you'll see them. They look different, in the water than a spot.
Yeah.
Spots are pretty distinctive in the water. But you'll see them up in the river,
That's
chasing
cool.
bait, that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Like I said, and then every now and then we'll catch one. Just random.
What size are you catching when you do catch one?
Most of the ones we're catching now are between, say, 10 and 13 inches.
Really?
That's just in that 4-year, that size class.
But that's a good sign though when you start catching some
100%,
10 to 13
They
inches.
put them in there at 5.
And then
6
fish can
inches.
fend for themselves
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
So Blue Ridge would say was on the rise. I've never personally caught a smallmouth. I fished a few fisheries that have smallmouth, but I haven't went out there and targeted any. It's my humble shallow water game that I like to stick with. Not exactly. I'm not an offshore fisherman by any means at all. So we had a question up there though, right up there. Pull up just a hair, Paul. It was about
Chattooga,
Chattooga or Blue Ridge.
No, go down.
How's the bass fishing on Blue Ridge?
Shoot for hybrids.
The spot fishing's amazing.
How's the bass fishing on Blue Ridge? Been by there before, but I haven't fished it.
It's great.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we don't target them really. It's not something I'm going after.
Mhm.
Typically, we're walleye fishing up there, but we catch hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spots.
Yeah.
Just you can't get away from them sometimes.
To the point of where you're just having to bat them off of your baits, pretty much.
We tried to make adjustments to stay.
Okay.
If they're holding here, we're trying to fish a little bit deeper anyway.
I got you.
Do you ever have clients that keep spot bass?
I try to get them all to keep them.
That's
Green snapper.
what
for
I was going to
everybody.
ask you is that when I went crappie fishing, I was catching them so deep that I didn't have one of those
The needle.
yes
His needle.
the pin
Deflator.
needle to deflate them, and then I caught a bunch of little spots, and I ended up keeping them. Tastes good,
Green snapper.
but I'm like, they got to be eaten.
I eat a lot of them. I try to send them home with clients. I send
Really?
them home. People from Florida here eat these. Want to eat something for dinner? Here, eat these. It's great.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
No, they're good.
They go great in tacos. Talking about I want to say this real quick. Can we talk about this before we go back into this? Talking about some striper fishing. Muskie, the state record muskie is out of Blue Ridge, correct?
What I understand.
And it wasn't a small fish either.
Mm-mm.
How in the hell in 1978 or whenever it was, or I have to look it up.
So
but
you got to remember
how
it.
in the hell did a muskie get that big in Blue Ridge, and what happened to him?
So you got to remember, that's part of the Tennessee River.
Right.
Even though it's in Georgia, it's one of
Right.
those weird. It's connected.
TVLA.
Yeah.
It's TVA Lake. The river flows north. That's a weird scenario there. But there was muskie in that Tennessee River drainage. So when they built the dam, any of them that were in the lake stayed in the lake. But they've never been stocked. Like DNR didn't put them in there. But that again, they didn't stock the spotted bass either. And there's plenty of those in there. So it could have been transplant. Somebody could have dumped it in there. Could have been a natural fish. I think if it was a natural fish, there would have been more than one.
Right.
But unfortunately, nobody's ever kept records of the muskie that were caught in there. The only one that anybody ever knows about is the state record from 1976 or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't even born.
Would you would you want to see muskie back in Blue Ridge?
Absolutely.
You would want to target?
I think at this point, the lake needs a big predator.
Does it?
Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? What's your opinion on that? Why do you think it needs another?
That's just
big
part
predator?
of the the biology of those lakes.
Okay.
You got the stripers and big flatheads and blue cats and carters. Those are all big fish.
Yeah.
They're cleaning up. They're eating loads of bait fish. They're consuming a lot of calories. Blue Ridge doesn't have that.
Right.
And then you got the walleye. They're big ones.
So why
8 pounds.
is the bait fish and why is the bait fish in Blue Ridge not that big of a problem like it is on some of these other lakes like Carter's?
Trout?
Trout.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
the number of trout that are in the lake eating the bait. Plus
Blue Ridge,
Blue
right?
Ridge is a
In
great.
Blue Ridge.
Yeah, and plus Blue Ridge is a lot of the guys that are selling bait at some of these other bait shops, most of that bait comes from Blue Ridge. It did for last few years anyway.
I didn't know that.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of the bait that was coming down to Lanier was bluebacks caught up there.
I always see. Okay, so you said that. I always thought, and I was told that a lot of the one, like take Hammonds for example, a lot of the bluebacks that they get to sell come from Hartwell.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a difference in the bait between?
It's just
there?
easier to catch.
Okay.
So Lanier's notorious. I mean, it's hard to catch quality bait on Lanier. from what
Yeah,
I
they die
understand.
pretty quick.
They die. It's
Yeah.
just same thing like Carter's. You're catching them real deep sometimes. Sometimes they're real shallow. That bait on Blue Ridge is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of the guys that commercial bait boats, you can go up there in the summertime, find them out there catching bait.
Out of all these lakes up here, and this is a question I guarantee none of you guys will ask. Out of all these lakes up here, do you think Blue Ridge has the best quality of water?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of the few lakes that doesn't have anything above it. As far as, like Carter's, above Carter's, you've got LJ, you've got subdivisions and roads and parks, and those rivers wind through town and along the side of the highway and up, into more housing subdivisions.
Are there any big yachts on Blue Ridge like you see on like Lanier?
It's
And
like
some
a
of the other
34-foot scarab this summer.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a bit out of place.
Yeah, on a lake that's only 5 miles long.
Yeah. I mean,
Kind of absurd.
I was like, where are you going to go? I mean, I don't know. Like last Saturday, we had one that
You're going to go from the top to the bottom.
That's right.
Well, last
4
Saturday
minutes.
last Saturday we had a 40-foot big cabin cruiser come up the lake, and we're like, what are you doing?
I try not to even be on the water when that kind of stuff's going on. Like in the summertime, I try to not fish on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Even then we're fishing 5 to 9, 6 to 10 in the morning. We're out of there.
Yeah.
So you during the summertime, obviously it's the busy season. You kind of stay away during the weekend.
Just mainly on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
If I have to fish, we try to either do a night trip or fish Carter's, on Saturdays.
Because I know going to Blue Ridge during the summer, I'm just like, there's so many boats. It's like it'll be like 8:39 in the morning. You see jet skis going by. I'm like, okay, yeah.
That's again, but in the summer, the sun comes up early, it gets bright early. Get out there early, fish, hit it till the sun comes up. Go to Waffle House, call it a day.
Yeah, Waffle House.
Yeah, there we go. So 1958. Neither way.
As I just googled it at 1957.
1957.
57. What?
Pretty long ago.
The muskie record.
Muskie record.
Yeah.
Year of our Lord, 19.
How big was it? 35 pounds.
38 pounds.
38 pounds. That's a dinosaur.
That's a breeder.
Yeah.
That thing being alive today, that'd be
Big fish.
pretty big. Yeah.
I don't even know how long muskie live.
They live a long time.
Yeah,
Up north, they
They're
live a real long
lived
time.
fish, yeah.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah.
A lot of the northern species tend to really have some.
One of the things
longevity.
they're trying to figure out now is our walleye down here specifically, they grow quite a bit faster than the fish up north.
Uh-huh.
But they don't know if that shortens their lifespan. You know what I mean? If a fish lives 10 years here, does it live 20 years up there? They've aged walleye up there 25 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
But the growth rates are a lot different. So up there, you get a fish that's say 4 pounds. Sometimes I've seen data that says they're 8-year-old fish that weigh 4 pounds, and down here they're talking 4 or 5 years. Our fish are 4 to 5 pounds, but we don't we don't have an off season down here. They eat year round.
Yeah,
plenty of food, that kind of stuff. No ice.
So back on getting on like striper fishing and stuff. You talk about fishing. You talk about in the summer. You talk about fishing at night and like early morning till like 10 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that. Most of the time, is that like your predominant like favorite way to catch striper is like in dark, or
I like
do
to
you have
catch them
some
over the
other time?
hydroglows. Go out at night. 4 or 5 hours before daylight.
Mhm.
Throw the green lights out. Get them to come around the boat.
Yeah.
You can catch them
Now,
however you want. You can catch them on a live bait, you can catch them on dead bait, catch them on a fly rod, catch them on a slow pitch jig, and catch them. Once they're around, they're looking to eat.
now, you said that, so we're going to get into this. You are a big guy on dropping GoPro around to see what's going on.
Absolutely.
You talked about Carter's earlier, and when the sunlight disappears. Blow some people's minds with what you told us earlier, because it blew me and my Paul's
55
mind.
to 60 feet is dark on Carter's.
Yeah.
Black, jet black. Daytime, nighttime, year round.
Yeah.
Same thing like I was saying. Lanier, I think it's a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get down there 65 or so feet, it's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Dark enough where you can put lights down in the daytime if you need to.
Yeah.
Carter's is a little different animal. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's so much bait in there. You could you randomly throw a cast net off the side of the boat and catch bait.
Really? Yeah. Carter's is. You like catch striper. You like catch walleye. I mean, do you have a preference of which one you would rather fish for? No, you don't really care.
Really. It's seasonal. So I fish stripers when the striper fishing's good.
Yeah.
I fish yellow perch when the yellow perch fishing's good. Like at its peak for the year. You know what I mean? But I fish walleye year round.
Yeah.
I like the technical aspect of walleye fishing.
Okay. Yeah.
Doing this,
Okay.
finding the bite, tweaking it. You know what I mean? Paint this bait, try this. You know what I mean? Then dial it in, get it dialed in, and then it's
Now
it's on.
I can relate to that about the seasons. Is that like I mean I can fish largemouth all year long when I'm down south in Florida, but then there's peaks where like the peacock bass fishing during the spawn and
Oh, yeah.
during the late
It's
summer is
July.
like unbelievable. Then I transition to saltwater, and usually April all the way through. You know, that's the best time for saltwater.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I
So
know
same
about
thing.
the
I get to
peaks.
go snook fishing once a year. I go in July.
Oh yeah.
I get to go sail fishing once a year. I go in
Okay.
February. I go salmon fishing once a year when the salmon fishing is good. You know what I mean? There's no need to try to just take Carter's for example. There's no need to go out there and beat yourself in the head in September and try to catch a striper on Carter's Lake. You got the lake starting to turn over. You got bait fish starting to move. The lake's really hot. The fish are really deep. There's other things to go catch. It's a great time to catch spots, you know? So don't try to go make something happen when there's another bite available.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Find your area where you fish, lay it out for the year. This is what happens here. This is what happens now. And then we're going to come into this and you'll get some overlap. Like April and May. I fish Carter's and Blue Ridge in April and May. Doesn't really happen any other time of the year. So I'm on, both of them that. And then after May, I just fish Blue Ridge, May, June, July, late July. I go back to Carter's. Back on Carter's July, August, September, and October, I go back to Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
And it's not even like I'm bouncing back and forth between the two. It's like on, off. And the same thing. I don't do small like crappie and panfish and stuff like that. I don't fish for them ever. But come mid-October through November, beginning of December, we hammer the yellow perch.
Wow.
It's the best time of year to catch them. It's the only time I can go out and catch more than 6 or 7 at a time. If I can go catch 30 of them, and that's a good day. It's
Yeah, so that's a good question right there. So does Eric? We got 2 good questions right here. We're going to ask Eric. Does Eric guide on the Toccoa tailwaters?
no. I only guide trout on private water.
Okay, so you only guide trout on. I was going to get into the trout, but he already jumped the gun and asked about trout fishing. And the second one right here is Peter says, "I'm so guilty of trying to force bites to happen. I need to start putting a calendar together." We ask this to all the guides that ever come on here. Do you keep like a logbook or a calendar of things to compare from years past and years going forward?
I used to write it all down, and you know what I mean. And I'd go back and look at it. And I'd go, yeah. And I found that it didn't work just as much as it worked.
Yeah.
So it was just another variable instead of just going out and focus on what's going on that day in those conditions and trying to figure it out. And then
Preconceived notions.
And after you do something long enough, you kind of, okay, well, they're not here. We'll go look over there. One of the other interesting tools I use is my Google Pictures.
Uh-huh.
You can go back to your Google history and pull up your photos, and it has a map. Like it'll show you, like you can scroll through on your map, and it'll show you where you caught that fish, where you took, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of replaced a lot of the writing down a spiral notebook kind of thing.
I used to do the same thing. I used to write everything down, and then you just memorize it. And then plus, every year it changes, so you just have to adapt to the changes in front of you. I think we had an episode and we were talking about that. How you adapt to the things and don't fish history.
Yeah.
Fish what's in front of you.
I tell people, they're like, "Where's your favorite place to fish?" Where the fish are. What do you want to catch them on? Whatever they're biting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I say that, and people are like, "Oh, whatever." He just doesn't want to tell me. But no, that's it. Like, people are like, you got any secret spots? Like, I'm one of the few people that doesn't, like, I don't have waypoints in my fish finder.
Okay.
Like, when I'm fishing, I'm using my sonar to find out where I might be in a general area, but as I'm working around that area, if there's 4 or 5 fish here, boop, I'm dropping a point, boop, dropping a point, boop, dropping a point. And then we're going back and we're fishing them vertical. The next day, there might not be any fish there. There might be a half a mile up lake or a half a mile on the other side or on a different flat, or there's no bait there when you come back a couple days later. Then you got to go and run the sonar and use your technology and find the bait, get on top of them, and then pinpoint, find the fish, and do the same thing.
So I think we talked about this earlier before the show started. You don't use any forward-facing sonar.
No,
none of that. So you just do traditional 2D.
I've got, I run a Solix. I run the Humminbird stuff.
Okay.
It's got side imaging, down imaging. 99% of the time, I'm still using 2D sonar. I use my maps a lot more now than I used to. I use my maps and my 2D sonar.
Lake Master.
Lake Master and Auto Chart Live.
Yeah, that is
That's
to
something
me.
that slept on is Auto Chart Live.
Hummingbird
For the
does
Hummingbird.
have the best.
Yeah.
To me, has the best side imaging.
That auto chart live
Yeah.
feature is pretty slick.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't get brought up very much is the Auto Chart Live
And
feature.
not a lot of people use it, and the people that do use it, what I found is they don't
use it
They'll tell you
right.
what their favorite color is, before they tell you that they use auto chart a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I fished with a guy several years ago who he got one of the hummingbirds that had Auto Chart Live on it, and he was just idling over this hump like over and over and over again. He's like, I'm building a picture. And I was like, yeah. I was like, well, you can only idle over it so many times before. It's just like we've idled over the top of the hump like 5 times already. It's just like, geez, dude.
Well, it's cool too, but like the side imaging, you can do like mosaic mode,
Yeah.
and build maps and kind of really see if you're fishing a piece of structure.
Yeah.
I use it a lot in the rivers.
Yeah.
Especially with the water variance changes, because you can go in and you find those rocks and mark them.
Mm-hmm.
Come back, the water's down 6 feet. It's turned down 6 feet.
So you use that with your jet boat?
Using both boats.
Both boats. Okay.
I take my same unit and just swap it from boat to boat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Which one do you think? In which situation? Which one do you think it helps you the most?
Well, the jet boat was bought specifically just to catch walleye. That's the only reason I bought it.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about
The sonar.
the sonar. Yeah.
2D.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Okay.
I mean, down imaging is really nice. What I use down imaging for is to basically verify. So you see something on 2D, it's a school fish. Is it a tree? Is it it's a blob? Everybody knows the blob.
Yeah.
And there might be a couple fish around the blob.
Yeah.
But you turn the down imaging on, and you're like, oh, that's a pile of shad or herring or bait fish. What I mean? Or, oh, it's a tree. Or, oh, it's, it doesn't look like that. It looks like crappie, or it looks like, something else on the bottom.
Yeah.
I use that. But as far as fishing goes, I'm a 2D guy. And it's, that Solix unit, you can get it dialed in, that's live. It's, it's not out in front of the boat, that kind of stuff, but I'm not really fishing out in front of the boat. I'm fishing under the boat.
Right. Right.
So, but I can, I can watch jigs go down, and I can watch, it's pretty live.
just like how it was before forward facing sonar.
Like I said, guys are fishing like that all the time. I don't know.
They're gonna have neck problems in a
That's
couple
right.
years.
No, it's we got Jersey
They're
Cat.
just going to put the screen up on a pole, Rob.
Yeah.
Maybe 5
You
feet up
fold-
off the deck.
fold
You
down.
just look right at it.
Yeah, you've seen those ones where some of the guys have them on their bass rigs and crappy rigs and stuff. The one that you reach down and turn the pedestal and it stands all the way up, and it's like
I seen guys on the fishing the walleye tournament the other day. 2 screens, 2 forward-facing sonars, one this way, one that way. And guys jigging rods in each hand.
really.
Like,
It's the truth.
well, I got drummer up there in the front of the boat, man.
Oh
Like,
my
that's
lord!
a
Well,
lot.
walleye people have the most expensive electronics sometimes than bass guys.
That's,
They have. I know a couple guys that fish the walleye up north, and they have 3 to 4 different forward-facing sonars. 2 in the back, 2 up in
yeah,
the
there's
front.
guys trolling now with the forward-facing sonar mounted on the transom,
It's crazy.
watching downriggers and watching lures, planer boards out to each side of the boat. I mean, forward-facing sonars off the corner. It's wild. Like, that's a lot. You know what I mean?
It's not. Is it still forward facing at that point?
That's outward facing.
Outward
The
facing.
one in the
sonar.
front, you can see the future. The one in the back, it's like going back in
Past
time.
tense.
So that's going to be the new way we're going to describe it now. Instead of forward facing sonar, outward facing sonar.
Yeah.
Striper, I do want to hit back on this real quick because you talked about this. You said I like to fish where the fish are. I don't have any secret fishing spots. But for striper on Carters, what's your favorite way to catch them? I mean, if you could say,
real fun.
okay,
Catching them on a half-ounce walleye jig is pretty fun too, because you're usually not geared up for it. You're fishing 6 or 8 pound test.
do you do any power reeling?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you fish Carter's Lake, I fish a lot of spoons, from half-ounce Hopkins spoons to 9-inch, Parker spoons.
Okay, which one do you feel like you have more success on?
I catch more fish on a 1-ounce crocodile spoon than any of them.
A crocodile spoon?
It's a Rapala product.
That's juice.
Jensen.
I remember those.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never. That's the first time I've ever heard of a crocodile spoon.
I'm not going to repeat myself. But
Oh, and Paul said he's being quiet, so he's like, I'm not going to repeat myself. But you guys, I keep forgetting. I put Paul, and I hope you guys that watched last week enjoyed it. I put Paul a microphone back
you need
there.
a camera back there.
And we're going to have to work on a camera.
Paul cam.
Yeah, we need a Paul cam.
Cone
That's for
cam.
sure. We'll see you later, Tyler. Appreciate you watching as always. He said he's off to bed. 2D and a decent map are good enough for me. You're following on that same lines, but when it comes to the striper and Carters, we get some comments from our audience and then from some of the other guys. They consider it to be the best striper fishery lake wise. Do you agree with that?
Fish quality wise, 100%.
Okay.
100%. Always has been, in my opinion.
Yeah.
From early 2000s till the last few years, we were averaging 14 to 16 pound fish.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the quality of fishing has gone down. I don't think the number of fish has gone down.
Yeah.
I just think the number of fish caught has gone down.
And that probably has something to do with the amount of bait.
Absolutely. Because it's as far as the guides go, it's the same group, it's the same group of us that's been up there fishing for years now. And I talk to those guys occasionally. Nobody's catching more fish striper wise. You know what I mean? Nobody's like, oh yeah, we're killing them. It's just not one of those things like it used to be year round now. They're getting a few here and there, a couple a day. Quality fish still, but it's just the bite has gotten tougher. But as far as quality fish goes, I think that Carter's Lake is probably the best lake for quality fish in the state for any fish.
No, really.
I think, and I tell people all the time when we go out there and we're fishing, if you put a hook in the water here, you've got a chance of breaking a lake record for every fish that lives in this lake, whether it's crappie or catfish or walleye or hybrids, or stripers. I mean, they're all in there and they're huge. The spots are huge. Everything in there is big. It's only getting bigger.
Okay. I'm talking about being bigger. What is your biggest striper you've caught out of Carter's?
35.
35?
Wow.
What about walleye?
8, just under 9.
Just under 9. Flathead's blue cat?
On my boat, I haven't personally caught. We've had the lake record hybrid.
Really?
Yeah, we broke the hybrid, the blue cat, flathead. Caught a couple crappies in there. Caught some hybrids. A bunch of fish that we, didn't record as lake records. I got pictures of them on scales and stuff. They're legit.
What's the biggest talking about like that? Because that's something we don't really get. That's something we don't really touch on too terribly much. Blue cats. Blue cats are this swimming predator that some people think catfish, they think it's this laying around in the deep hole in the mud hanging around.
I catch blue cats trolling.
Yeah,
Trolling crankbaits.
But a blue cat is one of those things that I would consider up there at the top of the list for apex predator.
It's a sporty fish.
Yeah, it's a sporty fish. Our buddy Aaron Churchwell, Jersey Catfishing, who's listening to us right now, he's headed up to Notley. He said to go fishing right now. I mean, is that a good idea right now?
That's Terry, is Jersey Cat.
Terry Jersey Cat O'Shaughnessy. Do you know him?
No.
Oh man. we gotta get y'all
like each other.
So we do
y'all like each other.
I do catfish stuff in the spring, when they're running up the rivers and stuff like that. We'll go up and chase them. I'll catch and release stuff. I love putting young kids on big catfish.
Yeah.
The current lake record flathead that was in there, I think we caught it like 7 or 8 times. Like I've got pictures of all kinds of people holding it. You know what I mean? The same fish. We caught it all summer long, and then somebody caught it. A younger kid caught it.
I did a good job.
It's like 43, 46.
Yeah, I've caught some giant ones over at Notley.
Same thing like the blue cats.
Yeah.
I'd never really caught blue cats, and was out with Gary Turner. He fishes with me quite a bit, and we got on a school of them, and caught a couple 100 pounds of them pretty quick.
Wow.
And he registered one of the bigger ones was lake record.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
The lake record hybrid back in 2012, I think I broke like 6 or 8 times over the course of like one summer.
I'm
going from like 10 pounds to like 13 pounds. I've got a picture of one that's 16. Cy had a fish the other day. It was like 16 pounds.
Wow. I'm amazed. I'm just amazed that you're just like throwing it out there like, we had like the lake record, like
But
a
it's
bunch of
okay.
times.
So lake records, where that's a geo-in thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a bragging right thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the people I'm fishing with, they're here on vacation. They're not going to try to register fish. It always seems the same thing too. It always seems like that big fish comes real early in the trip. You know what I mean? And if you want to register those fish, you got to get them pretty fresh, get them on a scale, get them certified, all that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to quit fishing. Especially
that's true.
Caught a fish like that. Nobody's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Let's catch another one.
So, and I don't personally, unless it's until it's a walleye, I'm not trying to register lake records. Just not. I don't need that. It's all fun. It's all got its own aspect. Some people like that kind of stuff. Some people chase records. Some people chase line class records. It's just never been one of my things.
So you talked about like the amount of numbers they're depleting and catching during these trips. Is it because of like we talked about the amount of bait, or is it now so many people are fishing now, the pressure, more guides out there? I mean, what is it?
Up where
everything?
I'm at, Carter's and Blue Ridge, I don't really see that much more pressure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think there's 10 times as many boats now as there was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Up there. And there might be more people, but from what I see in the parking lots coming and going, it's about the same number of people it's always been.
Yeah.
Blue Ridge is getting a little more busy, but there's just a lot more people in Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge has a lot of boating traffic, but I don't think it really has much more fishing pressure per se.
Okay.
Especially as far as people that are successfully catching and keeping fish. I don't think nobody's making that big of a dent.
That's funny that you say that though, because like on Lanier and Allatoona, for example, we'll use them two as outliers. The fishing pressure over the past like 3 years has just, I mean, you see more and more people with rods.
You think there's that many more people catching fish though?
Well, if you look at the idea, I don't know if you pay attention to tournament weights and stuff like that or anything. So, Lanier right now is pumping out these absurd numbers of 5 fish limits.
Giant,
just giant stringers of spotted bass. And one of the biggest bags that I've heard of just happened on Carter's this past weekend for spots. It was just over 21 pounds. A 5 fish limit in tournament on Carter's. And you talked about the quality of fish and Carter's being better for just everything. I guess for someone like you, fishes Carter's bounces back and forth between Carter's and Blue Ridge so much. I guess that's not really a shock to you for Carter's. But for me, seeing that compared to Lanier, it's like, whoa, okay, so but someone busted a 20 plus pound bag on Carter's of spots in a tournament, and all winter long so far, they've been busting 20 pounds every single big tournament on Lanier. That's been happening. It's really interesting to see the health of the fisheries, but I'm about to ruffle some feathers here. In terms of the greenfish, will we see a repeat of it this coming up next winter? I don't know if we will.
Fish waves usually come in cycles.
Right.
And 2, 3, 4 years of good, 2, 3, 4 years of bad, 2, 3, 4 years of good.
Yeah. And plus, too, for spotted bass, these guys are catching these 20 plus pound stringers of spotted bass. I don't think everyone realizes how old those fish are that they're catching, because spots only live to be about 8, 9 years, and then they die.
Really?
Then die naturally. That's about the lifespan of the spot. 8 to 10 years on average. But in their first 3 years of their life, spots go like this. But then after that, they put on roughly a pound a year in the right kind of conditions. So you've got a long spot that's between 19 to 21 inches long that grows out in its first 3.5, 4 years of its life. And then it puts on another pound a year. Well, by all these 5.5, nearly 6 pound spots that people are catching, those fish may be dead here within the next year, not because of them being caught. That's because they're at the end of their life cycle. Mother Nature, they're going to die naturally. I think in terms of we don't get this argument enough. Everyone always talks about Lanier, but Carter's is slap ate up with fish. Period. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's
Absolutely.
just slap ate up with fish.
I would say per square foot, like cubic foot of water, it's probably got
Yeah,
it's up there as far as number of fish in the lake, quality fish.
yeah. So you go out
It's a
there.
dangerous place to be a small fish. I know that.
Well, yeah, exactly. And and it's funny because you guide on Carter's and you guide on Blue Ridge. Those two lakes are pretty small.
Yeah, and couldn't be more different than each other.
Right. Which one do you? I mean, I think we probably maybe already said this, but if you had to get rid of one and not fish another one, which one would you pick?
I'd probably fish Blue Ridge.
You would not go back to Carter's.
As
you
a
would only
guide.
fish as a guide. Okay.
As a guide, I would fish Blue Ridge only because you've got a few more options. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've got less power generation going on.
Okay.
That's another big factor at Carter's.
Yeah.
They use that
generators.
that dam, man.
Yeah.
They use
The
that
dam
baby.
generation.
That thing creates like 4 times the amount of power that Lanier does.
Wow.
It flows like 4 times the amount of water.
Mm-hmm.
So they use that a lot.
Okay.
Then you've got a pump back system that's in play there as well.
Right.
Those affect the bites substantially.
We've heard that from the backwoods boys talking about
So
fishing.
you've got a lot of different variables on Carter's.
Yeah.
Blue Ridge is a constant flow. 500 cubic feet coming in, 500 cubic feet going out all the time.
Oh, really?
All the time. Now they do generate power, but it's like a 6 megawatt power station. It's not even enough power to power Blue Ridge. So they're not dependent on that power.
That's interesting. It's interesting because we're surrounded by.
It's a flood control lake now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Because we're surrounded by all these lakes like Allatoona, Lanier, Chattooga and stuff like that, where they're man-made lakes built by man, and majority of them are all used for power generation in some form or fashion or flood control. But Blue Ridge Blue Ridge is just basically used for flood control, and that's all that
so like when comparing the lakes, Carter's makes more power than all these other lakes combined.
Yes.
All of them. Like
Yes.
everything in North Georgia.
Yeah.
So they flow, they're generating 4, 6, 8 hours a day, and then they're pumping back 4, 6, 8, 12, 14 hours a day sometimes on Carter's.
Yeah.
Keeps our water levels nice, but it plays hell on the fish. You know what I mean? They're pumping it, it's warming up, it's cooling down, it sucks the oxygen out, it has a thermocline, it doesn't have a thermocline. It's a turbulent place, which pushes those fish down to the bottom, and the bottom of the lake covered in timber. So it makes them hard to fish sometimes.
Yeah.
And where Blue Ridge, you've got perfectly crystal clear, trout quality water coming into the top of the lake, and it just gently meanders through the lake and comes out. The intake's at 80 feet, or 115 feet, whichever one they're pulling out of down there. It just creates a nice, gentle current flow through the middle of the lake, and they've got an oxygen system on Blue Ridge.
Now, I know this is such a random question, but I'm just curious, being up here now for a full year, why, what is the purpose of them dropping these lakes and then them coming up? Is it because electricity, power?
Flood control.
What is it?
Flood control.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose behind lowering the lakes in the wintertime. Is if we get big snows, we get most of our rain here in the wintertime. It doesn't rain much in the summertime here.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to hold that water instead of letting it go downstream.
Interesting.
So like Carter's Lake, usually in March, we get some big heavy rains. I've seen it the last few years. It's, 20, 27 feet over full pool, which is getting.
So that lake fluctuates like all the time.
I've seen it 30 feet down from full pool, and I've seen it 27 feet above full pool.
In like one day or?
No. Since I've been fishing. But in a day, it'll move 6, 8 feet sometimes.
So that's why the largemouth bass, it has such a hard time producing, because it just fluctuates like crazy.
Yeah, they try to make a bed, and then the water's down here.
Yeah.
The next day, the water's up here, and then and it's just all the time.
Yeah.
And there's no grass.
Yeah, that has a big impact on it too, Carter's, because it's nothing but rock and timber.
It's just standing trees.
There's really nothing else in Carter's. And man-made brush piles.
Standing trees, bait fishing.
Yeah. Well, before we get into these last couple questions, we want to hit our last couple sponsors and thank them real quick. Well, we got about 20 minutes or so left. The first one here on our next segment is Red Bobber Gear. Kyle and his family are the owners of Red Bobber Gear. You can go see them guys and check their stuff out at www.redbobbergear.com. We also have some of their apparel, some of their hats in the store. Making memories with a little red bobber. Have you caught fish with a little red bobber and stuff on the end of your line? Floating minnow and
Who
stuff
hasn't?
like that. I mean, who hasn't? Exactly. So, redbobbergear.com. They have some great stuff. Danny wears that hoodie all the time that has that nice little zipper foam pouch on the hoodie, which is really fancy. Really like that thing. We have those here at the store at Fish North Georgia. And also, of course, as always, Rachel Collins with 400 Homes. Rachel, she is the girl for you. She is just like us. She's a fisherwoman. She's a fisherwoman, lady angler. You can call Rachel at 770-310-0599 or email her at rachel@400homes.com. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, Rachel is the girl for you. She will get you took care of, and she will work her tail off for you to get you the best deal that you could possibly get. Spring's coming here. People are going to start thinking about moving. People are going to start thinking about maybe potentially selling something or buying something. Call Rachel up. She'll get you helped out, and I promise you she'll work hard for you. And then last but not least is Jason Sayers with J&S Contracting and Elite Landscape and Pressure Washing. Call Jason at 706-816-2049. He's down there in Oconee, Sinclair area with both of his business there. If you need a new home build or a remodel, Jason's the guy for you. Give him a shout. He'll take care of you. He treats you just like you would anybody else. Just a common guy. He's a fisherman just like us. He has a lot of fun. He's a friend of ours and he's a friend of the show. Been on the lives with us before out on the water, and we love Jason to death, and he's great. And so if you need anything, he will travel and he will help you out as best you can. So give him a call again at 706-816-2049. That is Mr. Jason Sayers with J&S Contracting and Elite Landscape and Pressure Washing. Now, last thing here with the last bit of the thing, we're going to talk about something that I have absolutely zero interest in.
That'll be great.
This is interesting.
You really know how to set them up.
You want to swap?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to swap, we can. But if you want to swap, we can. But I want to talk for this last little bit about your river fishing.
Okay.
If you guys don't follow Eric and don't follow Lake and Stream Guide Service, the Facebook page and whatnot, you guys need to, because it's like one day it's a walleye, the next day it's some striper, and then 2 days go by, and then someone is either him or somebody else is kneeled down in the river with a trout.
Absolutely.
So it's and they're never this big,
Never pequeño.
No.
Grande.
They're always catching some brownies and stuff. And you seem to catch a lot of those natural trout. Is that the right way to say it, Paul?
No.
Natural.
No,
What is it? What is it? What is it called?
Okay, you got pellet pigs. You got wild fish,
Wild fish,
and then you got native brook char.
Okay, yeah.
If it ain't a brookie, it's only wild.
Well, anyway, I'm just playing. River fishing. What are you doing? Fly fishing? What are you ultralight? Whatever. What are you doing?
I've got about a 3/4 mile stretch of mountain town in LJ that we fish. I've had it for about 10 years.
And it's private.
Very private.
Very private.
The only one that guides on it.
Okay.
So we've got that. We fly fish it, spin fish. It's mostly rainbows, browns, but we get big fish.
Yeah.
Fish up to 8, 10, 11 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we've seen some fish.
Again, we fish them, November till April. And then once it gets warm, we leave them alone. Let them hang out all summer.
And this is an LJ?
Yeah.
Okay, because I live in
Yeah.
Aldrich, so
Right on.
that's cool.
Hey,
Awesome.
you need to go with him.
There's
That's what you need to. You need to
about
go
to
with
be
him.
a date made here.
We're going to make up a date. So, but with that, so you come up here, and I'm glad Peter asked this question because you said earlier, you really got your start when you come up here. You started fishing in the rivers.
Mhm.
He says, how long exactly have you been fishing up here?
Since 96.
96.
Mhm.
Okay.
I moved here from South Florida.
Okay. 96. So that answer your question
And there was
there.
nothing here in 96, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah. We didn't even have a freaking Walmart hardly around in here. Now there's a Walmart in every town almost. The carp fishing. I don't. Philip. He's a good friend of ours, friend of the show. Carp fishing. Do you catch carp? Do
I
you fish for
remember you
carp?
caught one out of Carter's
Listen,
one
I
time
catch
on a
a few
down
carp.
line.
I catch them trolling. I catch them casting. I catch them at night while I fishing.
But they're by accident, right?
The carp on Carter's eat fish.
Are you serious?
Call me crazy. There's no grass in the lake, so if they don't eat fish, what
well,
do they eat?
well, yeah, that's true.
Okay, and there's huge ones. So the first time it happened, I thought it was a fluke. Okay, caught a carp on a crankbait, whatever. Then I caught one on a live bait. Then I caught one working a spoon. So after that, whatever. If it'll eat a spoon, then I'll catch them.
Oh my lord!
Interesting.
But I don't target carp.
Carter's Lake is an incredibly unsafe place to be a bait fish.
It's an incredibly unsafe place to be a small fish. And when I say small, anything under 12 inches.
So there's a question right there from Phil talking about back onto the trout fishing. Philip says, Eric, do y'all have Kamloops rainbows in there?
No, not that I know of.
You got some skimmities?
I don't know their professional background description.
Yeah, I'm lost.
I've been lost.
It's fancy trout talk.
Anytime you
man.
guys talk about the trout,
Fancy
it's
trout.
It's
talk.
they're different strains of rainbows. You have different strains of bass.
different strains
Yeah.
of dum-dums.
I titled this episode. I said Monster Fish, Eric Crowley, and Monster Fish of North Georgia, because anytime you put up pictures, whether it's a freaking walleye or a striper or a trout, it doesn't really matter. You're always catching these big fish.
So I tell people a lot, we target big fish, and people laugh. They're like, well, how do you only catch the big ones? I don't only catch the big ones, but I don't post pictures of small ones.
Well, obviously.
But it goes back to the same thing with the
But you
walleye.
have good success, though. And I was saying that about Facebook because it seems like on a regular basis, on a daily basis, you seem to be posting pictures on a regular.
So the fish I target, the way I fish, it's just like I was talking about trying not to catch the spotted bass while we're walleye fishing. We make those adjustments. If I fished 1/8 ounce jigs, hair jigs, minnows, slip bobbers, we fish shallow water in the grass beds, we would probably catch 2 to 3 times as many walleye as I catch now a year. But the size of those fish is 12, 10 to 15 inches, let's just say.
Yeah.
I don't catch very many 12 to 15 inch walleye fishing the way I do now.
Right.
But if I can catch an acceptable number for me and my clients, if I can keep that number acceptable and catch 22-inch fish doing this, why am I going to go do this? Why am I going to bother these fish before they ever have a chance to get big? I don't want to do it to increase my numbers. That's in the long run, it's just going to hurt me. So I just leave those fish alone. So technically, yeah, we are targeting the bigger fish. We're using bigger baits. We're using bigger spoons, more aggressive presentations.
Yeah.
Deeper water, more offshore structure fishing than anything near the shorelines.
Right. Like for me, if I was to come out with you, for me personally, I would be perfectly fine if between me and you went and we only put a couple of walleye in the boat, because I know, judging from the way that you talk and the way that you talk about where you target fish, whether it would be walleye, whether it be striper, or whether it be fish in the river, trout in the river, if we only stick 1 or 2, I'm good with that because I know that the quality is going to be
in the
there.
State to go target, right?
Right.
So, if you want to go catch a bunch of fish, we can go spot fishing. Catch a bunch of spots.
Yeah.
Walleye fishing is one of those things where you have to take the good days with the bad days, and it's a running total. You know what I mean? You're literally targeting a fish that didn't exist here. It's relatively new in the scheme of fishing in the fisheries, and it's still developing. So some of the things we did 10 years ago, that pattern doesn't even exist anymore because the herring are in the lake now.
Yeah.
So we had to just give up on some of those patterns. We've got some other patterns now that we just started fishing, 1 or 2 years ago that weren't there a few years ago when we tried to do them. So it's, the fish are evolving as well.
Look at that right there. I want to see.
What's
Pull
it
that
say?
big old long one from Phil right there. I'm talking about the trout there. Those kamloops are steelhead from out west and run in the ocean.
God,
They
he
get
said
like
the
30 to
steelhead word in Georgia.
30 to 40 inches long. There's a
No
guy in
salt, no
Suches
steel.
that has them in stocks around North Georgia. Didn't know if he stocked there.
Okay, so
what I said.
Okay.
what was who was the guy that had the kamloops up there in Blue Ridge? Was it Bramlett?
Oh no, I don't know.
I don't remember off the top.
I
of
was
my head.
never that plugged into the Blue Ridge.
There was some. I don't know who's got them. I don't try to keep up with all that. Technically, if there's no salt water, there's no steelhead. And I know all of my buddies on the Great Lakes just threw their Molsons in the air and are having a fit.
Hey,
When those sea run trout go into the ocean and come back, that's a steelhead.
Yeah.
It's a rainbow trout. It was born a rainbow trout. It swam to the ocean. Now it's a steelhead. They took those same trout. They brought them to the Great Lakes. They stocked them. They called them steelhead. It's a rainbow trout. If I bring it here and the fish swims from the river to the lake and then turns and goes back up, it's still a rainbow trout. But certain geographic areas, they're steelhead. And I'm not going to be the guy that coins the frame Georgia steelhead. So.
oh, it's too late, dude. I did that last
Oh,
summer.
great.
Oh Lord, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's talking about the steelhead controversy right there, Philip.
Oh no, it's a hot button.
Is
It's a hot
it?
button.
Yeah, if you're bored, like when you get home tonight, just find your Great Lakes fishing forum and just go on there and post those aren't real steelhead.
I might have to make.
I didn't say it wasn't a fun button.
Fish North
Yeah.
Georgia. That's not a real steelhead. I was like, I have no idea what I'm talking about too. So I don't know.
Neither do most people on the internet, so you're fine.
Yeah.
Fully qualified.
There's a big question right up there, right at the top from West Bailey. Have you noticed an increase in lampreys and trout that you catch?
Lampreys?
Yeah.
I think lampreys kind of fluctuate with everything else. Some years we see a lot of them.
Mhm.
Some years we don't. Some years I see a lot of them in Mountain Town Creek, and I
Mhm.
see them, in the Cartacay and the Coosawhattie and stuff. This year I haven't seen many.
Mm-hmm.
Caught a couple, fish with them, trout on them the other day.
Yeah. How big around here do they get?
So in the rivers, they're 6-8 inches long.
Yeah.
But now we've caught them. We catch stripers in the lake, and they'll have them attached.
Yeah.
I've seen them. 20, 22 inches, big enough for you don't want them to fall off in the boat.
For those of you guys who may or may not know what a lamprey is, just Google a lamprey and then
Southern brook lamprey is what we have here. Don't freak people out.
Huh?
There's several kinds of lamprey eels. Some of them get like 4 to 6 feet long.
But do they all have the same mouth structure?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. I thought you were about to say no. Don't freak people out. I was like, Google a lamprey if you don't
Yeah, but
know.
if you come up with a sea lamprey that's 3 feet long, like that's
Nobody's gonna want to go
It's a sea
swimming this
monster.
summer.
It's a sea monster.
monster.
That thing was down there and it was swimming and it got attached to a bluefin tuna at one point. That's the way that it is. But yeah, go look up what a lamprey looks like if you have never looked up one. They are the most disgusting, freakish thing.
Right
I've
up there
ever
with
seen.
hagfish.
We found a lamprey on a spot in the Etowah almost 40 years ago from Mr. Tim Hancock there.
Talk about the port access to Blue Ridge.
Oh, there we go.
The boat dock dilemmas.
The boat dock dilemmas. Is
Yeah.
that what the problem?
Well,
is
there's
with
one
Blue
boat
Ridge?
dock, one public dock,
Right. How many ramps are on Blue Ridge?
3 public ramps,
Okay.
plus the marina.
Yeah.
The marina is not public,
Right.
so can't launch there. Morganton Point, Lakewood, Green Creek,
Where do you go from most of the time?
Morganton or Lakewood.
Okay.
It's the only ramp that has a dock.
Okay.
So
Is that the one that always gets out of the water?
it's out of the water 6 months a year.
It's
an engineering marvel.
You heard it here first, guys. It's an engineering marvel.
That's their
There's
Tennessee engineers.
there's another good question right there. Do you catch any red eye bass while fishing while fishing for trout in the rivers?
I
and
catch them
streams?
in the summertime on some of the creeks. Is that Chris?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's probably looking for the bass slam. Yeah, we catch some decent ones up on Mountain Town and some of the other trout streams that we fish in the fall. They get nice red eyes in there in the summertime.
Okay. All right. So here comes another question.
That's one of those fish that I guess the Georgia Bass Slam or whatever. That's one of those fish that a lot of people get their fifth.
You want the red eye. The
All
red
right.
eye is usually your fourth.
All right, so there we go. So, Lanier is one of the most popular lakes here in North Georgia, obviously. We talk about it a lot. But Ty Patterson says, just tuned in. Can you talk about how to catch walleye on Lanier? It's the only fish I haven't caught in Lanier.
I've never caught one on Lanier.
He's never caught one in Lanier either. But if you were
fished Lanier a couple times years ago, and other than that, I try to stay away from that lake.
So if you were going to go Lanier, though, and you said if I told you, I said, Eric, you got to go Lanier, you got to catch walleye. What are you going to do?
I'm going to call my buddies.
Don't call Eric.
Okay,
call somebody else.
Thing. So it's not like the super secret, the Fishing Guides Network. But if I was going to go over there and fish, I'd call a couple associates, find out where the bait is, find out what the bait's doing, find out, talk to some bass guys that fish it. I'm looking for fish in a certain depth. I'm looking for bait conditions where that bait's, down on the bottom, in the morning times. So if you guys have been out on the lake in the last couple of weeks, you notice there's a lot of bait fish pinned to the bottom of the lake right now.
Not really.
First thing in the morning.
Not really.
I got guys sending me pictures because they know what they're looking for now. So they're sending me pictures of these and they're looking and there's some areas, some of the flats have got bait pushed up on them, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I would probably go pull crankbaits right now on Lanier or, fish a jig.
Okay.
Fish a jig and a minnow.
Okay. Probably. Have you ever been to Hartwell?
Nope.
All right. So you see, you guys are asking questions about.
I don't get the lead, man.
You don't get the lead.
It's Carter's, Blue Ridge, Notley, a couple of the rivers around here. I can catch pretty much anything I need to catch.
So you would take the same approach for Hartwell walleye. You would pretty much call somebody, get in touch with somebody.
Yeah. I mean, right now I would be fishing up in the river. Pre-spawn fishing.
Tuggaloo.
What is it?
Tuggaloo's the river.
Can't even tell you the name of it.
There's two rivers.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, the Tuggaloo.
But I mean, like I've talked to some guys. I've had guys on the boat, and they came fishing with me last spring, and they learned some stuff, and then they went back and they were fishing, Yona and Rayburn and Seed and these lakes, and they were calling me. They had a couple questions, and we tweaked a couple things, and it was like.
So you've never fished any of those lakes, like any of the Rayburn chain?
That's like the other side of the world for me. You know what I mean? To
But
load up a boat.
Far.
It's a lot farther than where I need to go.
I just had to ask that question.
Any distance you're pulling a boat and trailer.
Yeah, when you're pulling a
through the North Georgia mountains
from LJ to Lake Burton, man, that's a haul.
It was sketchy.
I got to drive by a lot of water to get there too.
Like it's sketchy for me to pull like a kayak trailer up around Raven. Like I couldn't imagine pulling a full size center console.
Not just that, but the travel time it take me to get up there, I could already be fishing. I could have 2 hours in the water by the time I got up there.
You just gotta leave early.
I mean, that's the way I look at it. I pull a 21-foot boat.
For me, it'd be kind of crazy to leave 2 lakes that I have patterned year round for fish.
That is a good point.
To go try something, you know what I mean? 2 hours from here. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna go try to catch something else. Catch a spoonbill or a muskie or something.
That's a very valid point. Well, listen, we're getting down. Yeah, Eric hates to drive. I think I figured that out here in the last 2 minutes. Eric hates to drive, other than I guess drive. Well, hold on 1 second. Before I stuck my foot in my mouth, I was going to say you hate to drive except for the boat, but you fish 2 tiny lakes. You don't do a whole lot of driving, I don't guess.
No, I try to do more fishing than driving.
Yeah.
I drive to Michigan. I drive to South Florida. You know what I mean? I'll drive.
You drive, but you don't
take
fly?
my boat. No, I got too much gear.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's packed down. He's ready to go, and he's definitely using the credit card to get to and from there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, what's your plans coming up here for the next couple of months before we end this thing out?
Catch lots of walleye.
Catch lots of walleye.
Book lots of fishing trips. March is booked. I got some trips open in April.
Mm-hmm.
Fishing's only going to get better.
If we wanted to book those trips, how would we get in touch with you?
Exactly.
You go to the website. Go to lakeandstreamguideservice.com. Click the book now button. It's going to give you some options. Blue Ridge, Carter's, nighttime walleye fishing. Click on those. It'll show you the availability. Book it all right there. Send your confirmation email. Show up. Don't be late.
Feed your guide, tip your guide.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, feed your guide,
Yeah.
tip your guide.
Bring snacks.
Yeah, bring snacks. What kind of snacks if someone's going to
Anything,
come
man.
with you? Anything?
Yep.
Nothing specific?
I got some guys come down from Wisconsin every year. They bring all kinds of snacks,
Cheese.
sandwiches, beer. I have a couple guys that show up with barbecue.
What's your beer?
Yeah.
Whatever they bring, they brought. You're a Wisconsin guy. What's that?
Spotted Cow is the one everybody loves.
They
Up
like
there.
that. It was some of that and Lowenbrow and some. They were drinking all kinds of beer. They brought a 65 quart Yeti full of snacks. Like they come walking out of the boat and put it on the jet boat. It was like, whoa, whoa, guys, what's in here? 4-hour fishing trip.
Did they have their shore lunch kit ready for those
It
walleyes?
was, a
Like,
night, it was a night trip, and they asked me if I did shore lunch. I'm like, no.
These guys show
Be
up
home
and
by lunch.
these guys show up with Eric and he's like, we're going for a few hours.
Yeah.
We're not going for a few
We're not getting
days.
stranded.
Yeah, we're not into the wild like
No.
Jack London over here. So Eric, listen, we appreciate you. Appreciate you
No
coming
problem.
on. We hope we can get you back on here another time.
Anytime.
I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys, learned a little bit. Eric's a great guy. Absolutely love him already. He's very knowledgeable, and we didn't even really get to scratch the surface. We could probably still sit here and talk for another couple
We'll
hours.
come back after the walleye spawn.
Well, there we go.
Talk more.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So we should do that because that is one fish that we just don't really get to talk about a whole lot is the walleye. And in my opinion, you are the foremost guy on walleye. I'm not saying that to like fluff you up or nothing. I mean, your evidence of your posts that you post speak for itself. So
It's
if
a
you
learning curve, you know.
yeah, so if
It's
you
fun.
guys really want to go fish some walleye and go catch some,
Let's do it.
this guy right here is one for you. Listen, guys, 2 hours is up here. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. And as always, we will see you guys next Thursday night here on the Livewell. And y'all have a good weekend. Go fishing this weekend. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, go fishing this weekend, please. We will be there. We will be here, of course, as always, at the store tomorrow. Y'all guys come see us, come get stocked up on some stuff. And with that being said, Rob, as always, appreciate you always being here.
Of course.
Coming. Paul, as always, we need
Get the Paul cam.
we need to get a Paul cam. We're gonna work on that. So Paul, appreciate you as always doing what you do. Eric, again, thanks for coming.
Anytime.
And we will see you guys on the next episode of the Livewell, which will be episode 60 next week, next Thursday night. So you guys be good, be safe, have a great, fantastic weekend. Don't forget the brag board. You guys want to get on TikTok? You want to get on our TikTok?
you want to be a star?
You want to be a star? Get those pictures up on the brag board, and we might pick you up and put you on the top 5. So you guys have a good one. Be safe. We love you. Appreciate you. Peace out, guys.
Tight lines.